from Chaitanya Charitamrita, a little bit. Unfortunately, I do not have the physical book, which I certainly prefer, so you'll have to excuse me. I have to use this little gadget today. But the transcendental sound vibration is the same. Let me see here. So we have another little short mantra we chant before reciting Chaitanya Charitamrita. Those of you who know it can follow, and others can learn. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda,
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda,
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktarinda,
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktarinda.
So we're reading from the Adi Leela, chapter 8, text 15. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's several biographies, but this is the one that Srila Prabhupada introduced in the West. There's another famous one called Chaitanya Bhagavat, written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, one of the great acharyas in our line. And he wrote it while he was very old. He was, I think, in his 90s, and he was practically blind, but still he wrote that huge volume. So this is no ordinary work. This was completely inspired by the Supreme Lord. He inspired him directly to read this, because just from the physical point of view, how can a 90-year-old person who is practically almost blind write a voluminous, transcendental, deeply philosophical, and very much from the heart kind of scripture. So it goes like this. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dai Karaha Vichar Vichara Karali Chitte Pabe Chamatkar. This is written in Bengali. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection that people in general, in their narrow-minded conception of life, create many different types of humanitarian activities. But the humanitarian activities inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different. Let the logicians compare all the results of other humanitarian work with the merciful activities of Lord Chaitanya. If their judgment is impartial, they will understand that no other humanitarian activities can surpass those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone is engaged in humanitarian activities on the basis of the body. But from the Bhagavad Gita 2:18, we understand Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta sharirinaha. The material body is ultimately subject to destruction, whereas the spiritual soul is eternal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philanthropic activities are performed in connection with the eternal soul. However, one tries to benefit this body, it will be destroyed. And one will have to accept another body according to his present activities. If one does not therefore understand this science of transmigration, but considers the body to be all in all, his intelligence is not very advanced. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without neglecting the necessities of the body, imparted spiritual advancement to purify the existential condition of humanity. Therefore, if a logician makes his judgment impartially, he will surely find that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a Maha Vadanyaya Vatar, the most magnanimous incarnation. He is even more magnanimous than Lord Krishna himself. Lord Krishna demanded that one surrender unto him, but he did not distribute love of Godhead as magnanimously as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami offers Lord Chaitanya his respectful obeisances with the words, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnai Krishna Chaitanya Nam Nigora Tushe Namaha. This is from Madhya, CC Madhya Lila. Krishna simply gave the Bhagavad Gita, but by which one can understand Lord Krishna as he is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also Krishna himself, gave people love of Krishna without discrimination. Om Agyana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Vandishi Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahoditao Godadaye Pushpavantao Chitrao Shandao Tomonudao. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who have risen simultaneously on the horizon of Gaura to dissipate darkness and wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So, today is the most auspicious appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we just heard some of his wonderful character and nature, the purpose why he came. And also before, we heard this beautiful song written by one of our acharyas in our line, glorifying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So these are very beautiful prayers written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Okay, very beautiful. He was one of the intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya. So maybe we could do all the the texting afterwards, because it's somewhat distracting when people have their mobile phones on, and so maybe you can do it afterwards. It's disturbing. Thank you very much. This is a general, it's good to know for the future. Sometimes you give a lecture and people are doing all kinds of things on mobile, and we know those who give lectures, it's very difficult to keep your focus. It's kind of distracting. So it's a general instruction for future. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as stated here, he is known as Mahavadanyaya. He has many names. He's also called Patita Pavan. He is the savior of the most fallen. He comes, and those who are most unqualified, he gives the highest gift. The highest gift is unconditional love of Godhead. And when Krishna, he came, he also gave it, but he made one condition. He said, first of all, you surrender unto me. When you surrender unto me, I'll take all your sinful reactions. So this is a very wonderful proposal, because the conditioned soul has been in this material world since time immemorial. He is called Anadi, it's without beginning. This you cannot trace when the Jiva Bada, the conditioned living entity, came into this world. There's no time for it. And we say since time immemorial is a Western way. We say in the Shastra is Anadi, without any time. So we, all us here, because we all Jiva Badas, we all conditioned souls. We are not in the spiritual world at the moment, even though you can say to some extent we are if we fully engage ourselves in the process. But we are in the material world because we do not want to be, how amazing and crazy it even sounds, to be with Krishna. We had a separate desire from Krishna, and thus we are here in the material world trying to find fulfillment, trying to find pleasure, trying to find love in a place that's not meant for those things. But that's the Jiva Bada. It's unfortunate. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yuphatritaha. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam in first canto. We had that verse not long ago. Sutta Goswami is describing the qualities of the Jiva Badas, and not any Jiva Bada, because we know there's 4 different ages. But the last of these ages is Kali Yuga, and we're in Kali Yuga now. people in previous lives, and they had much more elevated qualities. In Kali Yuga, not so much. So Manda Sumanda, the conditioned soul, those taking birth in the age of Kali, they're very lazy to spiritual advancement. They're always unfortunate, and they are short-lived. So many bad qualities are there. So that's us, gents and ladies. We are taking birth in Kali Yuga, so we are some of the most fallen, because that's when you get here, you get like a stamp from the beginning, Manda Sumanda. Of course, there's gradations of. It's not that all are as fallen, but in general we are quite fallen. So that fallen living entity, who doesn't know his real self-interest, who's just mainly in this Kali Yuga, the majority of living entities, they're pursuing sense gratification and material opulence. They're very focused in that. They want to enjoy the senses for any cost, as much as possible. Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhogaishvarya Prashaktanam Taya Parita Chetasam. Those who are absorbed in bhoga, sense gratification, trying to gratify the senses, and Aishvarya, material opulence. In such a person, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So if one is too absorbed in these two things, forget about Krishna consciousness. Very difficult. And we see it all the time. People are not like, it's not like they hear a little what philosophy or they see devotees and they, oh, what is this? I want to take to it. It's very, very difficult, very rare. So of course those in this sitting here right now, they are not ordinary souls like that. They have some inclination. We are here because we amassed some bhakti sukriti in our previous lives. And when we amass enough sukriti, meritorious work, pious activities, but connected with bhakti, with devotion to Krishna, when the living entity, the conditioned living entity has amassed enough of them, then he will get in contact with devotees and start the process of devotional service. Adau Shraddha starts with Shraddha, faith in the process of devotional service. So how do a person get that Shraddha? It's explained by our acharyas, by amassing bhakti sukriti. And ultimately, the seed of devotional service is given to the Jiva Bada, the conditioned living entity. And it's given, what it says, Kona Bhagyavan Jiv Guru Krishna Prasad Bhai Bhakti Lada Beach in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The seed of devotional service is given to the conditioned soul by Krishna and the Bhakta, by the devotees. So actually it's the devotees, because Krishna is there, he is the winner of the heart and he can inspire everyone. But actually it's the devotees giving that seed. And it's causeless. So when the devotee decides that someone should have Krishna consciousness, such a wonderful process, then he shares it. Like we go on the street, we chant Harinam, we sit down or walk, and we use the instruments, and we glorify Krishna. And we wish that everyone coming in contact with the devotees, they should have the holy name and taste some of the nectar. And sometimes we see that people who come, some of them, many they just pass by. Again, Bhoga Shvarya Pashaktanam, they are too engrossed in material existence. For them it's like, what is this sound? That we also see. Some they react very strongly. If they have an asuric mind, if they're very demoniac by nature, then they react very strongly. What are you doing here? When they try to. We see that on Harinam so many times in Copenhagen. We did, and someone came, and at one point we had a whole group of bodybuilders, like 2 or 3, big, huge guys, Swedes who were in Copenhagen enjoying themselves. And they threatened us, they stopped us, and they were like huge muscles, and they were there. And they didn't like what we did, so they were like, speaking whatever, Swedish, this is nonsense. And they wanted to stop us, and some of the devotees were very kind of prepared to. One devotee was having the cart to swing him around, ready to boom into that big guy right in a certain place so he could. So that depends upon the consciousness. These are very demoniac people who are completely into Bhoga Aishvarya, Bhoga and Aishvarya. They're too materially engrossed. But others, sometimes you see people who come around And they're very attracted, and they're very happy. They start smiling, and some even starts chanting. So how is this? And that's because these people are pious by nature. And some of them might have some bhakti sukriti from previous lives. Like I remember once in Copenhagen we had a harinam, sitting harinam. And then one girl, young girl, she was very attracted. She just sat there for a long time and listened. And after the kirtan was finished, then she spoke with the devotees, and what is this? And then she went, we invited her back to the temple for prasadam, and she became a devotee. Finnish girl. So she had a lot of bhakti sukriti from previous lives. Otherwise she wouldn't be attracted like that. So once the jiva bhada, the conditioned soul, has enough of this sukriti, bhakti sukriti, he can take to the path of devotional service. So that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. He came, he is known as Mahavadanyaya avatar, as stated there in the purport. He's the most magnanimous personality. He gives that seed, and it's actually very, very interesting, not to get into a very controversial topic about whether bhakti is inherent in the jiva or it's given to us. So there's a very controversial subject. Is the soul actually having bhakti within him by nature, or does he have the potential for bhakti? And is given bhakti, given the seed. And that verse by given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Konya Bhagavad Gita, the fortunate living entity is given the seed of bhakti by Krishna and the devotees. Anyway, not getting too much into it, but we want to give that seed. We want to give the seed of devotion to everyone, because only by engaging in loving devotional service to Krishna can the spirit soul become fully satisfied. Everyone wants pleasure, everyone wants love in life, but we will never be able to get it on this material platform. And we have quite a lot of experience, don't we? Maybe not. Maybe we have some little kind of like, if you just have the right circumstance, if I meet, my dream princess of life, or my shining knight on a white horse, or if I get enough money, or if I win the big lotto, and I get several millions, then I can fulfill all my dreams. But actually it's not possible. Krishna states that very emphatically also in the Gita. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino juna. That from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all the places of misery, nobody can become happy here. So we know that. So in order to get full satisfaction and happiness, we have to engage in devotional service. And we want to give that to others. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, his lila is to give that without any discrimination. Completely. Take no consideration into. Like Krishna, he made one condition. I'll give you everything. I'll take away unlimitedly amounts of pap, of sinful reactions. Whatever you have done, even brahmahatya, even you have been killing a Brahmin, which is incredibly sinful, I'll take those reactions away. Also, like when we worship Tulsi Devi in the morning and we circumambulate her. Yani kani chapapani brahmahatya dikani cha. Even brahmahatya, the killing of a Brahmin, is taken away just by circumambulating Tulsi Devi. So worshipping Tulsi Devi, having Tulsi Devi is very, very auspicious. All the papa, all the sinful reactions are removed. So Krishna, he takes all this away. However big a rascal we may have been since so many lifetimes, Krishna takes all those sinful reactions away. But you have to surrender first. That's a real good deal. I mean, someone may have been a butcher and killed I don't know how many animals for so long, and that person would have spent so long time in Naraka Lok, on the hellish planets, and so many other things. 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam explains all the reactions of different sinful activities, and it's very, very heavy. So if you are kind of aware of those reactions, and you said, you just have to surrender to Krishna and unlimit basically lifetimes. It's not unlimited, but so many lifetimes in suffering conditions can be taken away just by you surrendering. That's a real good deal, actually. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he doesn't give any condition. He just came and he just gave love of God to anyone. Like we heard Jaka and Madhai, very, very sinful. Of course, they're special because they're actually incarnations of the fourth incarnation of two liberated souls, Jaya and Vijay, from the spiritual world. But he gave to everyone, whatever, however fallen they were, he simply gave it. He didn't ask anything. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is inconceivable how you can be so merciful. And that's stated in that verse. If you apply your logic to the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will find out that you can't comprehend it. It's not possible. Philanthropy. The verse spoke about philanthropy. So many philanthrops in this world. And they may do so many good deeds. But whatever they are doing, if someone tries to use intelligence and understand, oh, this person has done so much for humankind or for the sick or the poor or whatever. But if that person tries to apply the logic to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you'll find out he cannot comprehend it at all. So we cannot really comprehend what we have been given. It's like we take things for granted, we take things very cheaply. But we have actually been given the greatest gift without having much qualification. Again, everyone here has some bhakti sukriti from previous lifetimes, so we are not the most fallen. We are fallen, but not the most fallen. We have some piety, otherwise we will not be here. But still, we know what we have been engaged in before we became devotees, right? I don't have to mention here, but all the 4 pillars of sinful life, more or less, we've been engaged in. So we've been given the highest gift of unlimited love of Godhead. And the love of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he gave, we just got a little taste here when we heard from this beautiful song and when we read from Shastra and like that, and we get a little taste. It's very beautiful, very, very wonderful. When you really get into the kirtan, when we kick the mind and are fully present every single time, chanting our japa, being in kirtan, we have to be present. We have to control the mind. That raging lunatic, called the mind. And when we are able to do that, we'll get some little taste of the spiritual name, and it's very wonderful being in kirtan. And we can sit even on Harinam. I remember in the past we did a lot of Harinam on, public chanting. And when you really get into it, it's just like, you don't want to stop. You don't want to go back. And you're like in a bubble in the spiritual world. Everyone is rushing by, having to buy this, having to look into those windows for this, and chatting here, and they're just going around, but you're in like a bubble. You're completely blissful. And everyone, they look at you. You're sitting there in the middle of whatever walking street, Copenhagen or wherever it is. And they can just sense, what is this? It's like another world. They can sense it. When you're really in Krishna conscious, people can sense it. So you're sitting there doing the Harinam, and you just, Krishna is giving him, he's giving some mercy, and you're just completely happy. You don't want anything else. Nothing attracts you. If you're in a male body, some beautiful woman walks by, forget it. You're not interested at all. Nothing can compare to the taste you have. Nothing in the material world. Most beautiful women, most handful men, unlimited wonderful foodstuffs, yachts and fame, whatever, it's nothing. You know that when you get the taste. So all devotees have had that taste. We should have it all the time, more and more, because that's susukam kartam avyayam. That's a process of devotional service. Susukam, it's filled with pleasure. And if we're not having it all the time, means we're not completely following the process. Something in the process like we kind of push out. As one of my good friends say, often we hold the handbrake. We've taken the handbrake. Right? After some years, we're following the process. We get a lot of, especially in the beginning, everyone knows here, you take to Krishna consciousness, you get some you get some ecstasy, you get some, wow, this is fantastic. But then after some time you kind of have to pay something more. In the beginning it's free, it's like the pusher. They give, you just take this little thing, bag here, you get it for free, you don't have to pay anything. And then once you get like the second time, maybe also free, maybe the third time, and then you get hooked. No, then next time, fourth time, it's not free. You have to pay 1,000 crowns to get this little white powder or pill or whatever it is. So in one sense, Krishna is doing the same. He's very cunning, he's very clever. He gives it for free to begin with. You say, wow, this is fantastic. I want to dedicate my life to Krishna consciousness. I want to become a devotee, shave up if you're a male, and do all the things. So often we see that and people become very enthusiastic, but then after some time, it's not for free any longer. You have to pay a price, you have to surrender. And we have to do that all the time. In the beginning, like the 4 regulatory principles, this is just the ABC. It may be very hard to give up, those 4 activities. No illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication. It may be hard. Some of the principles are easy. Who devotees are attached to gambling? Very few, I think. And meat eating for devotees also generally is very easy, no problem. But 1 or 2 of the other principles are quite heavy. Some have a hard time with intoxication, and many not at all, but the sex life is generally the one everyone has that's a little hard. But actually, when you get the mercy, you forget all about that too. And as you progress in devotional life, actually getting more and more purified, the heart gets purified, the material desires subsides. They become less. And then at one point it's like, hey, I've been there, I know that, I've been there, done that. But then the attraction to sex life just kind of dwindles. Not automatically, but because you could be very old and still be very infatuated with sex life. We see that in the material world. All the millionaires, they have so much money and get all the young women because they got the money, right? Money is the honey, as you say. You can get everything with money. So it's even old age, but as a devotee, when you actually follow the process and your mind and heart gets purified, all these material hankering, this should subside. So Krishna, Chaitanya, he came to give this very freely. So we should try to understand how incredibly fortunate we are. Because we've been wandering around in this material world basically since time immemorial throughout so many universes. And then we have the incredible fortune to take our birth in the 28th Yuga of Brahma. In that cycle, that's millions of millions of millions of years. We took our birth right only 500 and now it's 540 years since Mahaprabhu manifested. So like 500 years after Chaitanya, or less than that, basically. 500, we took our birth. That's not so much in historical perspective. So Mahaprabhu was here not so long ago. And he gave the Sankirtan movement. So it's such a simple process. What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? He chanted, he feasted, and he had some Hari Katha, speaking about Krishna, some philosophy about Krishna's Leela. That's basically what they did, more or less. So it was one huge party. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are loving devotional exchanges they had from the transcendental platform. These were all Nitya Siddhas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we offer our obeisances, our glorification to the Panchatattva, to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Pandit and Srivas Thakur, and Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, all Lord Chaitanya's Bhaktas. And when we read about them, they're all Nitya Siddhas, eternally liberated souls. And when we see the exchanges they had, they were on that platform. They were so sweet. So sweet. And also when you heard in one of the songs, again, Navavaram song, it was ever new, ever new. Every day, new garments, new exchanges, new loving feeling. It's not static. It's not like love in this world. It's kind of like, we know, those who are married for a long time, it's kind of hard to keep up the, spirit, the fire, right? In the beginning, it's very easy. Everyone is, when you're in love, and it's like wow, you're walking on clouds. And she's just, if you're male, completely in your mind all the time. You almost worship, the earth she has, stepped on, right? See, Shivananda, he has a smile, he knows about it. So you do that. But, as time goes, it becomes harder to worship that dust from her feet and the other way. When the husband, you start to see all his faults, and, the woman kind of, wants to sometimes change him a little bit. But that's a very hard thing, especially when you grow older. Very, very hard. So the love comes natural in the beginning, but as time goes, you have to work for it. You have to create new situations to keep the passion or the love going. Otherwise it becomes stagnant. And we see so many couples, they divorce, they go, especially in this Western culture, it's different. In India it's not the same. They stick together basically mostly. But here in the West, so many, they split up because, where did all the love go? There's a song about, where did all the love go? Something like that. So, no, you have to work to maintain that love. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that kind of love, it was ever new. It changed all the time. It became fresh. It was always fresh. So it's not like love in this world that may become stagnant after some time. And which is very hard to maintain. But the spiritual love with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was ever fresh. Every time the devotees chanted the holy name, they had these prema kirtans. It was like fresh. They experienced new loving exchanges with Krishna. Krishna is unlimited. And the reciprocations with Krishna is unlimitedly fresh and new. And Krishna's Leela also, because all the time Jiva Baddhas are attaining perfection, liberation, which we all aspire for, and very soon, hopefully, we will all be in the category that enters Krishna's Leela. Whether it's again or for the first time is another thing. But we will enter Krishna's Leela. So Krishna is ever new Leela. So he's having new devotees joining his Leela all the time. Because there's unlimited Jiva Baddhas. We cannot imagine how many conditioned souls are there. You just dig up, we can now frost has come, but you dig up a shovel of earth, and the number of insects and microbes in just that one little bin, your shovel, is incredible. Right? And we go to the ocean, we see all these little krill, all these small fish that the whales, they eat like thousands and thousands in one gulp, right? There's so many of them. And you see, if we really go in and see, there's life everywhere. Sarva katha, living entities everywhere. So in this material world, there are unlimited living entities. And this earth planet is just like a mustard seed in a bag. We cannot fathom how many conditioned souls are there. So all the time, some are getting liberated and enter Lord Chaitanya's pastime, Lord Krishna's pastime, Lord Ramachandra's pastime, or Lord Vishnu's pastime, or Narayan in the spiritual world. So he is enjoying that all the time. So that's what we should aspire for. Because Lord Chaitanya is filled with unlimited qualities. I'm not qualified, I do not have the adhikar, the qualification to speak very intimately about him. Hopefully that'll come one day. But as our hearts get changed, we will more and more get into the qualities of the Supreme Lord. We know the holy name. There's 4 levels of realization from the holy name. Anyone knows how Krishna will manifest 4?
Nama, Guna, Rupa, Lila.
Exactly. First, Krishna manifests in his holy name. So when we realize Krishna is his holy name, then Krishna will be there. And through the holy name, we'll realize guna, the qualities of Krishna. You'll be absorbed in the qualities, not just theoretically. You live them, you experience them. And tears come to the eyes because Krishna is unlimitedly wonderful. And then Rup, then we'll realize his form. Then we'll see his form. When you chant the holy name, you can see Krishna's form. You can see Krishna wherever you chant, if you're chanting on that level. Krishna will be there. We know Krishna is in his holy name, but we don't really experience it all the time. But when we are chanting from the pure Shuddha Nam, then we can realize Krishna's form, we can see him. And once we see Krishna, we start crying. It's overwhelming. Completely overwhelming. I don't have many dreams of Krishna. Very few. Very rare. But I had one, not like 1 year ago. It happened. And it was like Vasudeva Krishna on the battlefield. Somehow or another Krishna was there with on a chariot in my dream. And he was there like kind of a distance. And I saw him, and he was there just, the beauty was, it's the heart, even in dreams, if you actually, Krishna gives some mercy, it's very rare, it's not, but I got completely emotional. I could sense Krishna was there, and he was so beautiful. It was like in the distance, this bluish hue, like we see the original Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada gave. We see Krishna on the battlefield with Arjuna. It was like kind of like that. So that was completely overwhelmed. That was just a dream. So when we actually see Krishna's beauty, his form, the heart will be completely melted. And then ultimately it's a lila, the last realization of Krishna. It's his devotional pastimes. So we can be in those leelas. We can be part of them even while we are in this present body. In this lump of flesh and blood. We can, by our pure consciousness, by our loving consciousness, we can be part of Krishna's Leela. That's throughout our tradition. The Uttam Adhikaris, while whatever, they can be transported to that plane. We see that also from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leelas with Raghunath Das Goswami, all these extremely elevated souls. They transferred, even they were sitting meditating, they were part of Krishna's Leela, even though the physical body was here, in this world, in India, in Vrindavan at that time. So it's possible. So Lord Chaitanya gave that process, made it so easy. So we have to understand how incredibly lucky we are. And if we give up that chance, if we give up the process of devotional service, we are so lamentable that, the highly elevated souls, they'll cry for us. We took birth in this particular Kali Yuga with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gave pure love of God so freely. You don't have to do huge tapasya, charity, meditate for a long time. It was so easy to do it. So we have to try to understand how lucky we are and take full advantage of this process given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai. So, let me see. Yeah, I went a little past. So, we'll skip the comments or questions, but later during our prasadam, whatever, if there's anything But I have a good excuse. The class was delayed a few minutes, so I'm okay to overstep a little bit. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.